Then again, you superficially induce this peak and trough. You're at a stable baseline, and then you throw in a little more test, right? Get you right in the zone. Cypionate's a lot more stable, so you stay there. Listen, you're going to see a lot of this stuff on the web, guys. Better libido and overall well-being by lowering dose. Who here found a stronger libido with a lower dosage? Something odd happened when I dropped my dosage. My libido increased. But that's not entirely the picture. All these people did, by the way, was get estrogen in their sweet spot while they had enough DHT. And you could achieve that in a myriad of ways. It isn't always the case that lowering your dose on TRT means you get your libido and erections back. You're not destined to be on ultra low natty levels of testosterone where you have no fucking anabolism and you have no energy. But in some cases, it is warranted, and I'm going to explain what those cases are, how to do it so you keep your anabolism. You know, folks that have to lower their dose into oblivion on the longer esters are better candidates for something like transscrotal cream. And we're going to talk about this not myth, but somewhat misleading statement that lowering your dose ultimately equals better libido on TRT. Let me just break this down for you because this is an important topic. Because after all, dialing in sexual function on TRT, because the anabolism and the energy that comes, that is the trick. Let's get into it. All right, before we start the video, look, Cortex Labs, which is my company, is a TRT coaching and sexual function resolution company. Got a range of different products ranging from courses on dialing in sexual function on TRT, like mastering testosterone cream for libido and erections. You can go get that right now, livecortex.com. But predominantly what we do is coaching. I just revamped all of the coaching options to make them cheaper. You don't need a discount, although the website offers you a 20% discount, so please take advantage of that. We got single session consults. We've got 3-month sexual function restoration intensives. We got a 6-month advanced TRT sexual function restoration. We have a PFS recovery. All the coaching packages can be found down below or at livecortex.com. And also we have a source list for any anabolic compound you can think of, especially the stuff you need. It's called source list. You can get that down below as well. All right, so let's just kind of analyze some of these threads here. This one, who here found a stronger libido with lower doses? Anyone in here found themselves having little to no libido, for example, 200 milligrams a week, but after reducing the dose had their libido increase a lot? So this probably happened to this person. He doesn't actually specify, but he's kind of, inquiring into whether or not this happens with other people. And yes, plenty of people, due to over aromatization on fucking 200 milligrams a week of a Long-Ester, end up not having great libido. They just have libido problems. Dude, again, I want to make this super clear. We need to be in a really narrow band of estradiol and, of course, high DHT in order for us to have libido on exogenous androgens. This is why people have such a problem dialing that in, because that window is kind of hard to achieve, and then it's hard to stay there if you don't have the right tools. First comment, I do 50 milligrams twice a week, and I'm always DTF. You boys know what that means. I'm not going to say it on YouTube's, though. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's a pretty low dose, but at least he's getting a bolus of 50 milligrams at once. His body's able to tolerate that, call it Monday and Thursday evening or something like that, like, every 3.5 days. It's just enough testosterone. He gets a surge in DHT. The E2 doesn't really go crazy over range. And the guy's sexual function's dialed in. I mean, that's not entirely like a bad protocol. 50 milligrams, Cypionate, injected in the glute twice a week. You're right off into the sunset. The next comment, though, I'm on 200 milligrams of SIP a week and my libido has definitely gone down. Yeah, you have enough DHT, which is generally what drives your libido, but estrogen too high will block the effects of DHT, at least neurologically, and as it relates to visceral libido. So you got to get it down. Yes, libido and sexual function gets worse the higher I go. It's pretty common for everybody, man. When I went on cycle of 500 milligrams a week a test, my libido was okay, but my erection quality basically went to shit. I let it go, trying to see where E2 went. Went to 95, by the way. That was fucking horrific. I had full-blown ED, man. On 200 milligrams a week, I lost the ability to orgasm. Not sure why. Prolactin was a little high. Well, if it wasn't over range, that's probably not it. It's the estradiol. Something odd happens. Look at this one. When I drop my dosage, my libido increased. So I was at 0.25 cc, 2x pins. Assuming this is 200 milligram Cypionate. So it was at 50 milligrams twice a week, so 100. He reduced it to, it's like 0.2, so 80 milligrams a week, just 40 and then 40, and everything increased. He might have been an over-responder to Cypionate, right? So now he's sitting at 700 total tests, E2's at 30, and everything works great. And the commenters are going, yup, your estrogen was likely high enough to cause a decrease in your libido, which it does. You need estrogen to a certain extent, as I've explained. It can't be super low. But if it's too fucking high, it's going to mess with libido and sensation. So let me explain this to you people. Yes, low doses, lower end doses of TRT do help if you're having libido problems and sexual dysfunction on exogenous androgens like testosterone. But here's why. Number one, if you're on 200 milligrams or even 150 for some people, but you try to take 0.25, 0.125, like these lower end doses of Arimidex, and anastrozole, like a commonly prescribed aromatase inhibitor, which blocks estrogen, then you get this funky distribution of estrogen at the tissues where your brain tissue and your penile tissue thinks you have no estrogen, even though the serum says you're at 25 or something. Then you get joint pain, libido problems, and erectile dysfunction because of the weird estrogen distribution from this breast cancer drug called an aromatase inhibitor. I know people that take the microist dose, like they've actually tried this Liquid-X strategy where you dilute some powdered Arimidex tablet in alcohol, like vodka, and you're absolutely fucking microdosing it. And still they get joint pain and erection problems and libido problems on it. They just can't tolerate aromatase inhibitors, man. A lot of people are like that. So if you're one of those people, you're going to need to go down in your TRT dose. It's just the bottom line. If you need the extra anabolism, take some fucking Anavar, honestly. I mean, that's really your only option here. It's unlikely in those cases that primobolan, which is also anabolic, is going to help you because it, acts as an aromatase inhibitor to a strong enough extent as well and can cause the same problems. Obviously, looking at the higher end of this hierarchy, this is also for people that, on whatever dose, call it 125, 130, 150, obviously 200, their E2 doesn't naturally fall in range. The DHT might be 92, sky fucking high, right? Or super physiologic, but the estradiol is 55, These people need to lower their dose. The problem that a lot of these folks run into as they try to do that, though, is they're on a Long-Ester, okay? They're at a higher end dose, so they have enough DHT. So they think, oh, DHT, largely responsible for sexual function, which it is, I should be fine. Well, if the estrogen's too high, you're not going to be fine. So they lower the dose. They take their Cypionate down to 115, 110, maybe 100 milligrams a week. Now, for some individuals, that's going to get the E2 at 25, which is what you want. But the DHT is going to be low normal, and you're not going to have great sexual function. It'll be lukewarm. Your libido is going to be hit or miss. Your erections will be fine for penetrative sex, but you won't get them at night. You won't get morning erections, and you're not going to be insatiably horny throughout the day because you need more DHT. I'm going to explain to you where lower doses actually make sense and the strategy to use lower doses, how to actually hack this to fix libido and erection problems on TRT. Number one, lower end testosterone transscrotal cream doses. Yep. This is where this makes sense because the cream, you stay pretty physiologic throughout the day. You get this swift peak and then it stays there. Therefore, more androgen receptor binding and more anabolism and energy. You'll find people on 25 milligrams of prop a day because prop leaves the system too quickly that they get libido and erections back, but the shit leaves their body, so they end up feeling a lot less anabolic, they look a lot less anabolic, and they have a lot less energy. But they go on cream at somewhat of an equivalent dose, which ultimately gets the E2 in a reasonable range, and they stay anabolic, and they stay energized. Again, I always suggest at this point 100 milligram per milliliter cream. It is easier to adjust. You want to have those fine-tune adjustments rather than the 200 milligram cream, which typically makes it hard to dial in. As I described in the cream course, which you guys should definitely get if you're on cream or thinking about going on cream, 4 to 6 pumps or clicks of the 100 milligram per milliliter cream on the scrotum, a modest HCG dose, 100 to 125 IU a day, 20 milligrams DHEA per day. That is where you start. For a lot of folks, that's just going to land them in the zone. E2 is going to be at 30, TT is going to be pretty high, DHT is going to be fucking 70, 80, maybe even 90 because of the scrotal application of the cream, which converts more to DHT and less to estradiol. And then those folks are going to be good. But here's an alternate option with cream. That also works. Say you can't dial in on that. Say no matter what you do on the lower end doses of cream, on the 100 milligram stuff, you're not quite dialed in. Erections are fine for penetrative sex. Libido is okay, but it isn't great. Hybrid protocol that I found works in that case is what you want to do is get the cream dose, whether it's 4 pumps or it's 5 pumps, to where E2 falls between 15 and 20 picograms per milliliter. Then you're still going to find at that point libido's a little lukewarm. Erections will probably be fine for penetrative sex. Not stellar, but fine. That's when you infuse the strategy of get your E2 to 15 to 20, and then you bump up the test a little bit. And you can do that in one of 2 ways. You could either put an extra pump of cream either on the forearm or the scrotum once every 3 to 6 days, right? Then that just gets you right in the zone, right in the zone. You're right in the zone. People have this complex with, I need to be doing the same thing every day and I want to set it and forget it protocol. Well, sometimes you might need to superficially induce a peak and a trough. A peak and a trough, right? You got your stable baseline, then you throw an extra pump of cream every 3 days or every 5 days or every 6 days. And that gets you in the zone. This is what I've seen work. The second strategy is a true hybrid, where you got your 5 pumps of cream, call it on the scrotum, 125 IU of HEG, but once every 5 to 6 days, based on the half-life of Cypionate, you inject 20 to 40 milligrams of testosterone Cypionate intramuscularly in the upper glute if you can. That's my preferable spot. Then, again, you superficially induce this peak and trough. You're at a stable baseline, and then you throw in a little more test, right? Get you right in the zone. Cypionate's a lot more stable, so you stay there. Right? You got this tail, this area under the curve, then it starts to go down. Day 5, day 6, you inject another 40 milligrams, 20 to 40 milligrams of Cypionate. You stay in the fucking zone that way. Again, it's this same strategy of get the E2 where everything's kind of a little low, 15 to 20. And then you just infuse a little more test, okay? Whether it's the ester that you're using, or in this case, if you're running cream, just a little bit of Cypionate. Hybrid protocol. Hybrid protocols are awesome. And they work. I have a lot of theories on why. I'm not going to go into the science of it, but they work. So look, it's not a definitive blanket statement that, you know, if you're having problems with libido and erections on TRT, just lower your dose. It doesn't always work out because you lower your Cypionate into oblivion and you lose anabolism. Your E2 falls at 25 or 30, so that's good. But you got fucking lukewarm, low mid-range DHT, and your erections are not stellar, and your libido, that primal libido, is not there. Now, in those cases, you could grab Source List and get exogenous 20% DHT gel and just fix that problem. So that's one additional answer you could do. But usually it does work out for that strategy. You kind of go on the lower end doses, and then you want to just infuse upward to get in the zone in a peak and trough fashion. You would rather, I'm going to make this statement, you would rather be on the low end and then just have to infuse a little more test to get you in the zone than on the high end and have to reduce the doses. Because all that takes time. If you're running a Long-Ester and all that shit, it takes 4 fucking weeks to get out, 5, 6 completely out of your system. You'd rather be pushing E2 at 15 to 20, and then you infuse a little bit more Cypionate if you're just running Cypionate. And then you get in the zone. In the end, if dialing in libido and erections on exogenous T is a problem due to the reasons I explained, you can't use an AI, there's always problems. Libido problems or joint pain. You lower the dose of the Long-Ester, your E2 finally falls in range, but your DHT is too low. That's when lower doses, but particularly this hybrid strategy of superficially manufacturing a small peak and trough, that's when this works. Please take heed. I see this work all of the time. For guys sometimes that are 2 years and can't fucking dial in the purgatory of never getting their TRT protocol squared away, they employ this strategy. Everything works. All right, boys, as I said in the beginning, yeah, look, if you don't want to go out this alone, I mean, this is what I do. It's what I've been doing for more than a half decade. We get the libido and erection problem solved. I got a variety of different coaching packages, including a single session consult where we'll generate a document for you, 3 to 5 action routes, and an entire engineered protocol for you to go execute to resolve libido and erections on whatever ester you're on. We've got a 3-month package. We've got a 6-month advanced sexual restoration package. You can go check those packages out. Book me in under a minute. We're on the fact-finding call as soon as the next day, and we hit the ground running. Description of this video or livecortex.com. I am a well-sought-out coach, so please get on it as soon as you can and let's book. The most popular digital product we have is Mastering Testosterone Cream. It is a video course that I created dispelling all of the BS myths about cream, specifically giving you the protocols that I have seen work in years of coaching men that are having problems with sexual function on TRT. Go get it. You can instantly download it and instantly start watching it. It's going to save you a year or two. And you'll get dialed in within a month, probably sooner. Source list, if any anabolic you can think of, listen, if you need to get your hands on prop, if you need the DHT, exogenous DHT helps people dial in. I mean, it's honestly the missing link for a lot of folks. Just get source list and go buy it. Just circumvent all the other bullshit. Just get source list. It's down in the description of this video. Last, if you need to dial in, Cypionate, I do have a course on that too. And it's called Mastering Testosterone Cypionate for teenage libido and still run erections. All the products are down below or at livecortex.com. Listen, I hope you guys had a great break, Christmas break, holiday break, New Year break, and you're back at it, back in action, otherwise known as baction. I had a good time, but all good things must come to an end at some point. So here we are, back to work. Like the video. Sub to the channel. Love to have you on board. We're a fast-growing TRT channel that talks about the scientific basis for erections and libido on TRT because it isn't always easy. That's what this channel is for. I'd love to have you on board. Otherwise, kick ass, rock on, more content this week. I'll see you then. I'll talk to you boys on the next one.